Namaste, friends. Welcome to the Sanctuary Podcast, coming to you live from Sydney, Australia here. And we're going to be chatting to a brother from North America who is coming on the show very, very shortly. We've just had a few technical issues with getting him on the show, so we're just trying it now to hopefully this will work effectively. All right, hopefully this works. We've had a few technical issues, but welcome back, everybody. And let's hopefully get this talk up underway. Just trying to add Michael now. Yep. I'm just requested and accepted the invitation.
Boom!
Boom! We did it. We finally did it, bro. We got there.
That was painful. That was painful.
That was right.
Put this on now.
Okay. All right, welcome, bro. So, it's great to have you on the. It's great to talk to you. Actually, it's been. I've been following your journey for the past like 2 years or something now, with all your videos.
I know it's been that. It's been.
The first video I saw of you was at Standing Rock, and that just fully captivated, took my attention. I was completely drawn into it, and I was just like, "Who is this guy? I really want to get to know this guy." And then I spoke to my sister Alexis, and Alexis was like, "Yeah, I know Michael. Michael studies Kundalini." I'm like, "Sweet!" It's like one happy family. So what's happening, bro? How are you doing? What are you currently working on? What's happening over there?
It's amazing. So since Standing Rock, like it was about 6 months before that, I started on a major journey to I didn't know where, but I knew it all had to do with my cosmic purpose. And in that time frame, met hundreds and hundreds of indigenous elders and activists, environmentalists and healers and wisdom keepers and community leaders. It was amazing, and I filmed about 100 of them and came back, and that was about a year and a half, and since then I developed that and developed other series, and I'm in the midst of developing another TV series for humanity. What can I bring forth that's going to help this world in this crazy moment? Help them heal, empower people, inspire them, challenge them, and show them what's really going on. So I basically have
and this is System Busters, right? You're referring to System Busters.
So Systems Busters, is the kind of first fruit of that experience with the 6 months away with the people of Australia, New Zealand, and North America. Yep. And I just began to, want to bring that into a TV series. But in the moment, I'm putting together, just going with the internet series, a digital series. It's on a few different spots, and I've brought forth 12, 15 of those episodes. And that's destined to grow a lot, not just in the volume, but in the in the length, and we'll see what happens. I focus on the content, and then I'm just starting now to reach out to producers and looking for the right alignment.
Beautiful.
So that's kind of what comes from my heart, propelling and projecting the voices of people who not only deserve to be heard and not only have a lot of great things to share that would bring forth some interesting truths, but have amazing wisdom and experience that we could all benefit from. So that's Systems Busters, and that's on YouTube and Facebook and some other outlets.
Sure.
On Apple TV and Roku as well, under the Connect channel.
Yeah,
and then I have a show called On Purpose, which is also a digital focused channel. Could also be the bedrock of something bigger. But I started that about living a purpose-filled life, and just sharing whatever wisdom comes to me, whatever inspiration comes to me, and it's I haven't quite had the time to make that as organized as I have Systems Busters, but you know what? If something wants to be shared, I just share it, and
absolutely.
I put together and edit and everything myself. And then I have a couple other projects under development as well that are big time. They're big time healing projects, reconciliation, forgiveness, bringing polarized different groups together, like the most polarizing issues together, and really trying to just shift the conversation around, move away from this heaviness You know,
Yeah.
we got a lot of beautiful people out there putting forth real news through alternative outlets, through
Oh,
documentaries,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's a lot of, but there's a lot of heaviness, like injustice and rage around it, and let's fix this and what's wrong with them. But I'm
Hmm.
choosing to bring these forth from the heart, allowing the people to speak for themselves, and then when I
Sure.
speak from the heart, and bringing forth the information from a different vibration. So
Beautiful.
that's kind of the panorama. Some speaking as well, but
Yeah.
different programs for humanity.
Yeah, fantastic, man. You've been doing some great work. And just by the way, for anyone out there that's watching right now, you can, if you want to go on YouTube and look at some of Michael's work, you can search up System Busters. Follow his channel on YouTube. He's got some great videos on there, especially all the Australians watching at the moment. Michael covered some great time over here as well, talking to a lot of Indigenous elders. And I want to just talk about that quite extensively now as well, because growing up in high school, being a white, Europe, my parents are English and obviously came over to Australia to start a family. And growing up in
Yeah.
high school, the type of history that we get taught in high school in terms of the Aboriginal Australians, a lot of the past things that took place are sort of swept under the rug a lot. They're swept under the rug, and there's not a lot of emphasis as to what actually took place when the colonization came over to Australia, and started to
Yeah.
obviously the stolen generation, all that type of stuff. So Michael, doing some beautiful work, came over to Australia, spoke to a lot of elders, spent a lot of time researching and interviewing and doing some great work out there. So would you like to maybe just share a little bit about your experience doing the work over here in Australia for
Sure.
all the Aussies currently watching right now?
Well, I was how my journey shifted because at the time I was living in LA, focused on acting and filmmaking, ever more conscious films, but
Sure.
still, sexy fiction, films, and I kind of I got connected to. I was in the Bali Spirit Fest,
Yeah.
visiting a friend and doing some filming over there, and I met Dea Dova, and who
Beautiful.
some of you might know, and
Yes.
she was she was doing a presentation on the planetary grid. We started talking about this crazy situation that was happening down there with some people around the South Australia, around the Flinders Ranges, the Adnyamathanha people. A
Hmm.
lot of inner struggles, and they were trying at the time. The government was put a nuclear waste dump on their sacred land next to water.
Wow.
There's a lot of stuff going on, and
Wow.
my Hollywood mind was like, wow, this could be some amazing, you know, cool graphic film, and then I was introduced to one woman helping out the elders there, and I didn't have a lot of exposure. I mean, here, at least in Australia, there's NITV, there's connection, you might know some people, but in the States, no, the Native American people are off the radar completely around here. That
Yeah.
doesn't take anything away
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah.
Just in the public eye, you wouldn't even know if somebody was.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a lot of exposure, and I went, and I just, they sounded like they needed help, and so I just said, "Oh, let me just forget about my big movie for a moment and just make a little video."
Sure.
Well, nothing more than landing in Australia and seeing the people, and I actually sat in some courtrooms and talked to some elders. I just realized I was there for something much, much bigger. And what I learned in I was supposed to stay for 2 weeks. I ended up staying for 3 months, the duration of the visa.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I learned a lot. I kind of dial back to that time, but essentially, I guess that, everywhere, like Australia, a history book is just like a novel. It's just like no one's there to fact check your history books. Your history books could be off the shelf at the airport or anything else. There's no difference
Mm.
between those. What you pick up, it's somebody's version of what they think
Yes.
happened. And so
Yeah.
we're
Well,
given
it's his
some
story, right?
version, and we don't really know. And when you meet the people, you realize, wow.
Sure.
And I watching TV, they don't help you anywhere if you're indigenous
No.
or of a minority. They're constantly putting up the worst photos of you, talking about your supposed crimes, and maybe, yeah, people are having struggles, sure, but it's just, I'll put it to you this way: at the time of colonization, the time post Cook and um, all the lot that started coming down there, the Aboriginal people of Australia were probably the most advanced people on Earth, which is the most interesting thing, funniest thing. They call the native people primitive.
Yeah,
They were the
right.
most advanced people. They
Right.
might have been, as it's described to me, they were living in 5D. The dream
Mm,
time, their dreaming world was as present and alive as the awake world was.
sure.
And they basically just took them and yanked them down to 3D. And, right now, a lot of them are still struggling because it's a different world. They're living in a
Because
completely different world now.
they've been pulled away from their dream time. They've been disconnected from their dream time through the
Yeah,
colonization of the white people to a certain extent, right?
absolutely. And
Yeah,
it's not just the intense violence, the
sure.
incredible violence, and things I heard were worse than anything you've ever seen in a film.
Wow.
And you could see it in the struggles, and you could and these things didn't. People often think that okay, I know of some massacres that happened, right? That was a long
Yeah,
time ago, but the mentality that allowed those to exist at that moment is not left. So people look at they look at, say, for example, talk about the environment, or you have all the situations down there. I'm in touch with a lot of activists still. You have the bite, and you've got the Australian bite, and you've got the coral reefs, and you
yeah,
got down in the south all the stuff that Leak Creek is trying to do, and people are screaming and yelling like you guys, or Trump over here, like fix it,
yeah,
stop doing this, and it's the same mentality, and that's what people don't
yeah,
really get. It's the same mentality that led to everybody taking foreign species over to Australia. And that's another thing that I thought was quite funny. All of these, you can't bring your fruit from this province to this province, and your dirt's on your shoes, and this, they get crazy about what you can bring on, from even on a bus. Like throw everything away, but you have
yeah.
so many foreign species there, and they're continuing to protect ridiculous plants and other things that because they want to, and then they
Sure.
get on tourists like, oh, you're so bad, you brought your dog, and as if you ruined everything, but they're continuing to do it on a massive scale. So
Yeah,
the
exactly.
indigenous people, the Aboriginal people of Australia, have a lot of knowledge. They have certainly a handful of issues and troubles, but they still have a lot of them still have a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom and a lot of heart and
Yeah,
remember more what it's like to be a human being. And that doesn't mean you're an angel. You can have your challenges, but the core wisdom is there. And I met some just otherworldly people when I was there, and I stayed with
wow.
them. They put me up in their home, took me around, people fed me, and I was welcomed by them. And
Beautiful.
they're beautiful people. And there's a lot of people who aren't traveling a beautiful path right now, but on the whole, I think they're
Yeah,
largely misunderstood, misrepresented, and
sure.
but they're due for a comeback.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you find, I mean, I know you spent some time at the front line of Standing Rock, and you did a lot of documentation there and quite a few interviews and videos there. Do you think the native people around the world are quite similar in terms of their mindset and in terms of their core beliefs? For example, Aboriginal Australians and like Native Americans. Do you think that's like a similar kind of mindset and approach to life?
That's a good question. I feel like they share a lot of similarities, but
Sure.
one should remember that they were different, like different countries. Even right there in
Yes. Yeah.
Australia, they had 500 or so, and so you're not going to say that are French people like English people. Yeah, well, there are
Sure.
certain similarities that they share, but the
Yeah.
core thing is that, and they different languages, different everything, but
Different dialects. Yeah. There's
unique
there's
to them is
there's like
it's
there's like
it's a
thousands of
it's a
dialects
remember.
in yeah.
Oh, they're
It's-
full on languages. You got to remember. So
yeah.
so the map. If anyone's seen the map, they have got the government at one point made an estimation of where the different groups were
The,
and try to
the
draw
tribes were, yeah.
lines. And of course, they never had lines. These were
Sure.
soft lines. They drawing lines is something that they do to divide and conquer. That's how it
Is it,
works. So
correct?
you
Yeah.
you know get people fighting this side and that side. They never fought before.
Yeah.
But if you look at that map of 500 squares or however many, 300 now, however many it is. So if you see one square, Now that was probably, they called them one people, but at the time they didn't see themselves like that. There were different clans or family groups inside of that. So, you know, to call everybody Aboriginal or Native American is already not true, but it's also like even within the tribe or the mob or whatever, there were
Yeah.
different family groups living differently. But I will say
Correct.
what they do share in common is a remembrance of of who Mother Earth really is and our connectedness to her, of who we really are, of sharing, of community,
Yes.
of true freedom. So I think those are core facets of all human beings that some human beings have forgot them. Most human
Sure.
beings have forgotten. The people who are closest to the earth and last obliged to play by the Western ways. Remember, a lot of them remember and
Yeah.
and try to and celebrate those and try to bring them forth within this, within the 3D world as best they can. So
Sure.
they would say they're very different. They
Yeah.
just, but there are some core values that they exhibit that we all have inside that are worth remembering, worth using them as an
Yeah.
example to remember.
Sure. Absolutely. It's great to share. Thanks for that information. Just want to say a quick shout out to everyone that's joining here. We've just got about 7 or 8 people on the live broadcast. So shout out to everyone that's joining. Drop any comments. I welcome anyone to drop any comments to be a part of the discussion in case you want to ask myself or Michael or anything like that. Feel free to drop any comments or like, share, or tag any friends that may want to join the conversation as well. So let's keep moving forward. So in terms of Standing Rock, were you there for quite a long period of time? Were you there from say start to finish, or whereabouts?
No, that
Whereabouts did you?
Standing Rock lasted. That was about a year, I think. The whole
Oh, that was wow.
started really in April. It blew up in September. I was there in October, and then they
Sure.
went to like March or something like that. So I was at the end of my journey, and I was prepared to go. I was already in. I stayed out my visa in Australia. Then I went to New Zealand, and I was going to stay out my visa there and go back to Australia. But you know, the universe has other plans. And the girl who was subletting my place she flooded it. She just cracked it up. I mean, the owner was pissed off at me, and it was just going real pear shaped. So I didn't have all the time I wanted. But I was in Standing
Right.
Rock for a couple of weeks. Uh, but with it, after having been with activists for 5 months through Australia and New Zealand, I
Yeah.
had a I had a whole foundation to work off of. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it wasn't like
Yep.
going in and what's going on? Why is this happening? No, but I'll tell you what it was. It was the crystal moment of really being able to see. Well, first it was able to see that most white people won't we'll say white English-speaking Westerners anyway, Europeans
Mm.
will never have
Yep.
the chance to feel, and that is what it is to be a minority and be in a militarized zone when people are
Yeah.
targeting you. And you think, oh,
Wow.
some people think, oh, well, that doesn't happen, or once in a while. No, it's a real feeling when you have helicopters flying overhead all the time, planes flying over, snipers on the ridge. You can't use
Wow.
your cell phone because they're using some big truck down the road
To,
to blanket the area. When you drive off and they're pulling people over for no reason at all and drumming up
yeah.
charges,
Wow.
you get the feeling you're in a militarized zone. And let me tell you, that's a
That's
feeling I
ins-
won't ever forget.
that's
And that's
insane,
a
man.
feeling
It's
that,
crazy.
some people told me, it's crazy.
It's
In
crazy.
living
It's
in the ghetto,
crazy. Yeah.
living
Yeah.
on a
Wow.
reservation, living in certain areas, and now I have a whole new level of appreciation. And I only needed a few days to figure that out. As
Wow.
strong as you think you are, I put up my shields and put up my walls and
Yeah.
energetically knew that this isn't really, this isn't going to affect me. But when all that's around you all the time and the density in the area,
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
something else. But the other thing that really crystallized for me was the understanding of what's really going on everywhere. And that is, on one side, you've got the corporations and the local government, national government, local police, other local police, national,
Yeah.
military. You've got the papers, the local papers. You got the national. You got the news, and you even had social media like Facebook and Google. They're all part of that. They're part of that
Indeed.
machine. And who's on the other side, fighting for the water? Just the people. people of all colors, people from everywhere, and so. But it was the perfect situation. Like it was so easy to see what's
Yeah,
really going down. And like
exactly.
it's us. We're the answer. Coming together is the answer. Community is the answer.
Yeah,
No government, no official, no celebrity, no leader, no one is going to save us.
correct.
It's
Exactly.
going to be us working together, overcoming our perceived obstacles, and understanding that we're the answer. And it just was so obvious there.
Yeah, it just seems so obvious that we just need to really stand up for our individual sovereign rights, and just this what it is. And until we all start to do this, then the
Mm-hmm.
tides will change. It's what it comes down to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We
So
keep it alive. With some people who aren't participating, they say, well, you can be the activist, you can be the filmmaker, you can be the, set up your yoga studio. But people don't understand that there's only two directions. You either you're helping it, you're participating in it, or you're helping to disassemble it. You're either
yeah,
expanding or you are retracting. There's no neutral. So everything that
sure.
people are doing, from every dollar, how you spend your dollars, what you're clicking on, what you're talking about, how you look at other people, type of job you do, everything, every moment contributes to breaking apart the matrix and bringing in love and unity consciousness,
Yeah.
or locking it in. There's no neutral. There's no I'll do my thing. Make my money. I'll join you to fight later. It doesn't work that way. You are helping it or you are helping disassemble it by your every action,
Absolutely.
word, deed, and dollar spent. So it's your choice, and there's no
Exactly.
time like the present to get involved on the
That's right.
side of the light.
Exactly right. It's your choice as to where you're putting your money at. So be super conscious and mindful where every dollar is going towards. Exactly. Yeah. So let's.
Absolutely.
I want to cover something that's very much stood out for me actually recently when you put this video out, and it's about the type of terminology and the types of conversations that are happening with young adolescent males, especially in say high school, in sort of like the early teenage years. And this really hit home because, these are the types of terminologies and conversations that were happening when I was in school, when I was in my, 16, 17 year, year 11, year 12 school, and talking about, you get a young group of males together talking about the party they went to on the weekend and the girls that they were shagging, or the girls that they were and the girls that they were getting, or whatever. And you were using specific terminologies which were being used in everyday conversations over here. And like terminology such as, how many girls have you slayed recently, or like, did you get her? Did you fuck her? All these things, all these different types of derogatory comments that are being passed around these groups of young adolescents, unconsciously talking and not even understanding the type of energy that's actually being portrayed through these conversations, and how it's actually very much being like a derogatory towards women. And this, I believe this has been obviously handed down through hundreds of years of conditioning through male domination, and obviously through Hollywood as well, because Australia is very much Americanized through Hollywood. So all these young boys are watching the American Pies, are watching all these young movies, and
Yeah.
and starting to speak, starting to use the same types of language in order to sort of put women down in a sense, but not actually realizing they're actually doing that at the same time. Do you want to speak
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So the video
Mm,
is on my On Purpose channel, and
sure.
I think it's On Purpose Life is on Facebook, and I felt called to share. I had my hands full editing a video and shooting a video alone. It takes, I just have enough time to do one series, but the second series, is stuff that comes to me, comes to the heart, things I see, and I wanted to support the women, all women, but specifically the women who are working so hard to shift
Yeah.
consciousness. There are many more, much higher percentage of women working in for the light right now than men. And I feel called to share my talents and my time in front of the camera in the way that can support them. And I've been
Sure.
working on this for a while. What really came to me, and it's, I maybe I hope that's the way it is in Australia, that only teens are talking about this. Maybe it's because sometimes we're in our bubble of friends who are like-minded, and
Mm.
they're conscious in their speech and conscious the way they're looking at
I,
women or
yeah,
relationships.
I think
I came,
I think these, sorry to butt you in, but I think these types of conversations are actually happening at all ages, not just young adolescents. But when I was in high school, I'm just referring to my time in high school, and this was rampant in high
right,
school.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So,
like what kicked this off for me is because one guy.
mm,
So I'm back now, staying with family for a little while,
right.
and I saw an old friend from college, and he said that to me. What bitches are you slaying recently? And I
Wow.
thought,
You were like,
and he's a really smart, well-mannered, well-earning gentleman of a guy.
mm,
He's not, living some frat life, but
right.
he lives the high. He's been living the high-level networking, white-collar, like jet setting
Sure.
type of thing, type of
But
life. So I won't
he used that
exonerate him.
expression.
He's the exact term, and I thought, wow.
Wow.
And I got in touch with friends who have kids now, and and a lot of my friends and family are educators. I talking to them what's going on in schools, and what
Sure.
I learned from my journey overall. Yes, I did spend time with indigenous people primarily, but it gave me an insight into all of humanity. It gave me an insight to colonization, and we're colonized when it comes to men and women. We're separated just the same way, because when we are solid and we are whole, we're like the two hands. We have our masculine side and our feminine side. Well,
Yes.
you you can't grab a ball with one hand. You're not gonna grab move stuff around with one hand, or you do your hair with one hand. You use two hands. We're two-handed beings. We're masculine and feminine, and somehow so we've just forgotten that. Let's just throw this arm out, and we've been conditioned because that keeps us weak, because the unification of the male and female in the sexual union, in the relationship, and even in just male female energies at work, your collaborations, that's a
Yes.
synergistic effect. So right now we're all individuals running around doing our stuff, but when people come together, we talked about community coming together and helping each other. Specifically, the male and female, when people have those two energies, and then they sit and they work together and they lock in, and they can, you know, you can touch the divine. So um,
Absolutely.
I I felt like I can the stuff was coming out post Harvey Weinstein and all these people coming out with the Me Too's, and I think,
Mm.
well, what can I really add to this discussion? It's really the fact that, well, let's just dial it back, because what we're also talking about is, in terms of the continued verbal or physical inappropriate behavior, comments, touching, aggression. Yes, it's existing for thousands of years, but it's also antithetical to who we are as people and to our own good. So uh, I heard all that going on, and I think we're not really talking about that. We're just shaming people, and I'm not to say that,
Exactly.
it's these with the men who did the things that they did should get off free or whatever, but it's
Scott.
not going
Yeah.
to shift the conversation. It's going to drive it underground. People are like, oh, I can't do that, and anybody find out about it. So now I'll just talk about it with my friends or my little group, and I'll do it. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
We got to talk about why do we talk this way in the first place? And it's
Yes.
because we conditioned to break us up, ultimately.
What's the root cause?
And so
Yeah.
we run these patterns.
Yes.
So
Indeed.
I created something that maybe it might be the start of something more. I'd love to make other pieces on that, make a movie on that even.
Abs-
But to really
yeah.
bring people into awareness.
Sure.
Mhm.
I think that type of topic of conversation and bringing that awareness to the world is something that we really do need as a society these days.
Oh yeah.
Coming into this understanding of equality between man and woman. Woman is starting to slowly starting to get appreciated and absolutely looked up to in an equal sense. So this is it's
Yeah.
a great movement you're conducting there.
It's fascinating, and you look at. I'll use my own example from my life. It's not my sensitivity. So I was a very, very sensitive. I am very sensitive. I can feel things, and
Yes.
that's not a, that's a poop. That's a trait that's oh, it's a woo-woo trait or like a pansy thing or a girl thing, and it's not celebrated. And I was open and vulnerable and got made fun of, and I just closed it all down. And
Yeah.
it's not cool. It's not manly. You can't cry. You can't. All these different things. And and that great, amazing strength had become a weakness, and it was the source of a lot of pain in my life. And because we associate, I
Yeah.
wasn't being manly, or I didn't know how to defend myself in certain ways. So ultimately, it comes down to the imbalance within us. And we correct the imbalance within us, then we're able to see with truth, the world with truth. We're able to see what's really happening. And
Completely
oh,
agree.
really loud.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, my work is to heal people. My mission in life is to help people remember who they really are as human beings, and find their light and broadcast that out for global transformation, for positive
Connecting
change.
to their core center of the authentic being inside of themselves. Yeah,
Exactly.
I completely agree with that. It's beautiful.
And it's time that we, and I certainly have I've gotten gamed by people, but it's time that we recognize the manipulation, not
Yes.
to cast people out, but to realize it's time to take our power back, understanding how these things occur, then
Yep.
enable us to make more conscious decisions and work on ourselves and see the world around us
Indeed.
for what it is. And
Yep.
I just when it comes to to male and female, I felt that was it took me a while to put
Beautiful.
together, but I felt like it's a good something new to the conversation.
Absolutely. Well, it was definitely a breath of fresh air. To see that was just completely captivating. It really took me back. And it was one of the main reasons why I really wanted to reach out and get you on here to talk about your life and the inspiration and the way that you are contributing to the global awakening on such a large scale. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. It's a delight to finally get a chance to chat. It had to happen at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah. It had to
You
happen at
know?
some point. Exactly. So, Michael, brother,
Exactly. I love what you guys are doing.
it's been a pleasure to talk to you this morning. That's all we have time for today. But I really look forward to, I really look forward to chatting with you within the next say few weeks or say next month or
Cool.
something like that, and we can continue to talk about this onward journey, this movement that's happening, and yeah, be able to touch base and reconnect.
Absolutely, brother. Be happy to. Thanks so
Beautiful.
much. Great
Thank you
talking to
so
you.
much from the heart. Nice talking to you too.
All right.
See you soon. Ciao.
Peace, brother. Stop now.
Sana. So, guys, hope you all enjoyed that discussion. It was quite a short talk, but so I wanted to get our brother Michael on the airwaves this morning to talk about all that we just spoke about. So you can watch the replay, and feel free to drop any comments and share, tag, like this particular video. We'll be coming to you live each week on the Sanctuary Podcast, interviewing different people around the world, talking about consciousness, all different types of topics of conversation moving forward into this beautiful new period of life. So have a beautiful day, enjoy, and talk to you all very soon. Namaste.